You want me to put that on my Tudor?
This one's wife. Breaking point. He's walking out. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There is repeated speculation about the state of the marriage between this one's wife and Prince Harry. This is inevitable for two reasons. First, many people suspect that all is not as cosy as they like to portray. And secondly, they also know such news is something that many people are interested in because there are a lot of people that are waiting for the inevitable breakup and divorce. I've explained previously that the most likely outcome between these two is what I call disengagement. When you're involved with a narcissist and you're the intimate partner primary source, there are essentially three tracks that your relationship can follow. The first is that you escape. You realize you're being abused, you no longer want to put up with it, you've been seduced, you've had the sustained devaluation, and then you get out. That is relatively unusual. The second option is that you're seduced, you suffer the sustained devaluation, you get a respite period, you're devalued, you get a respite period, you're devalued, and this goes on for decades. You don't leave, and the narcissist doesn't get rid of you. You continue that roller coaster of being abused and then treated well, being abused and then treated well, that goes on. And the individual concerned may never realize that they're dealing with a narcissist. The third outcome, which is the more common one, is that the narcissist decides to get rid of you. You're seduced, you suffer the sustained devaluation, and at a future juncture, the narcissist ditches you. My video, The 5 Disengagement Triggers, tells you what those triggers are that cause the narcissist to get rid of that intimate partner primary source victim. And I've explained that in relation to Harry, the most likely outcome is that this one's wife will ditch him, and we'll all be treated then to the full horrors of the divorce, which will provide me with a wealth of material to analyse with regard to how her narcissism plays out and the dynamic between the two of them. It really would be an absolute festival of information for the purposes of explaining her narcissism and the impact upon him as a victim. Thus, those are the three potential outcomes of this relationship. And as I've explained, I see it the most likely that at a future point, Harry will be disengaged from, divorce will follow, and it'll all be rather unpleasant. However, according to Geo News in the enigmatically named web desk, this one's wife is reportedly feeling the brunt of the emotional upheaval as Prince Harry allegedly intends to walk out of the home they've made together to go back to be with those people. What can this mean? The prince's personal woes have been highlighted and referenced by an inside source. This inside source broke everything down to OK magazine and began by admitting, on one explosive night, after Charles and Kate had both announced their cancer diagnoses, Harry reached his breaking point. Now, pausing there, it is entirely conceivable that Harry would have a breaking point. Human beings only have so much tolerance before they reach a breaking point. Harry has been facing considerable pressure. He has pressure within his relationship because he's being devalued by a narcissist. He has the pressures of the financial problems that await them if something isn't done. He's got the issues of the estrangement that he's experienced from his family. He has the pressure associated with the various criticisms that come in mainstream media and social media. Accordingly, there is a heap load of pressure that has been building up on the Ginger Prince, and of course, it isn't helped by the way that his wife treats him. The article continues by explaining that as of right now, Harry's been really worried and made a desperate plea to Charles. He wants to reconcile with the family and pitch in to help at this time of need. And he's told them he's coming home. According to the source, these are good excuses for him to be there and also work in some quality time with his family. But this one's wife seems to think differently. As per the insider, she is still refusing to set foot in the United Kingdom again after everything that has happened with Harry's family. It's emotional for her to think that he's willing to walk out of the home they've made together to go back to be with those people, and she's definitely vowed to keep the kids in California. Now, as always, I leave it up to you to determine the veracity of this information. Could it be the case that Harry has reached breaking point, and the fact that his sister-in-law and his father are unwell has caused him to reconsider? Well, it is a possibility. Events such as those can bring clarity to an individual who says, I have to be with them, they're not well. Naturally, that would offend this one's wife's need for control, not least because it would involve him going to see the nemesis. And irrespective of the fact that these two individuals are battling cancer, this one's wife doesn't give a rat's ass about that, for she has no emotional empathy for either Charles or in relation to the Princess of Wales. The fact that her intimate partner primary source would be contemplating leaving to go and spend time with them is horrific to her. Harry undoubtedly would say, let's all go over and spend some time there. It'll be lovely for them to see the children. We can be there and we can be help. This is my family. And although he behaves like an idiot at times, he does have emotional empathy, and therefore he would be moved to think in such terms. The problem that exists is that this one's wife would simply not let it happen, and he would have to make a break for the border on his own, whereby he'd have to bolt to the United Kingdom, and then there would be significant repercussions for him, because not only has he gone against the wishes of this one's wife, that amounts to a huge threat to her control, which would not only result in a raft of devaluations being sent his way, but it potentially could trigger disengagement, because her narcissism could regard him as uncontrollable, and that him taking such a step as to leave her in the USA and go back to the United Kingdom against her wishes for a period of time causes such massive wounding that it results in the narcissism saying, you've got to ditch him. He's threatening control too often, he's causing massive wounding, his residual benefits and character traits aren't as good as they once were, get rid, ditch him. And thus, that is a real risk if Harry were to grow a pair and go. I think what is far more likely is that he will bellyache about wanting to go, but she won't let him, because her narcissism doesn't want her to have any involvement with the royal family, with Britain. It doesn't want her involved with the British public or the British media because of the threats to control that it poses. And in order to protect her, it essentially causes her to think, no, I'm not going to go back to the UK, it's a hateful place, and neither are you. And any suggestion that Harry would do so is a threat to control, and if he were actually to take this step without her, that would be major wounding to her, which could just precipitate his disengagement. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.